Greetings, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Double Dog Addiction. We are going live. Should be a fun time, should be a good show. Let's see if our audio is going good. Yes, audio is looking fine. And I think that one sounds good too. Let's turn on the music. Where is that at? Alright. It is time for another episode of Double Dog Addiction. Today we're talking about lying. Yes, it's a topic close and near and dear to all addicts' hearts. We're talking about lying tonight. Lying. Oh boy, gotta get into this. What up there, Jerusha Burno? Smudge and I are just chilling, getting ready to start the show. Alright, well, I think that we're late enough already. It's time to get going on tonight's episode. You ready, Smudge? Are you ready to do the show? Are you ready for the show tonight? It's Nick and Smudge talking about addiction. Nick and Smudge, we're talking addiction. Oh yeah. If you need a therapy animal, you should get a therapy animal. Oh yeah. Alright. Well, it's time for Double Dog Addiction, the show where we get into the nitty gritty of what it means to be an addict and veteran living in today's society. My name is Nick. This is Double Dog Addiction. If you've never been here before, welcome. Glad you're here. It's the best place to learn about being an addict, the best place to learn about being a veteran and an addict at the same time. Welcome back. The place where we dig into what really drives us. Not the surface stuff, not the tippity top of the iceberg. We're getting down deep. We're gonna drill deep into those polar ice caps of our emotional feelings, and we're gonna see what the different levels of our emotions can handle. Right. Today we're talking not just about lying to ourselves, to each other, to basically everybody. but to ourselves, right? The kind of lie that keeps us comfortable, but costs us a lot. It costs us clarity. It costs us peace of mind. Let's see who we got coming in here. What up there? C-Mac. What up there? Arthur Adams. What up there? Left's Monster. The kind of lies that whisper, you're fine, when really everybody is breaking inside all the time, every day. People are just hurting, and they're scared, and they're sad, and they're wondering, what are we going to do? And when you can't discern the truth from a lie, even to yourself, well, everyone has done it, of course. You know, told a story we could live with, told something, said something we could live with, right? Instead of facing the truth that could maybe change us, facing the truth that could change us from one thing to something old to something new, right? We don't hide from the hard truths here at Devil Dog Addiction. Oh no, we unpack them, we wrestle with them, and we walk through them together. Because that's the only way that we can get through these hard times, through these hard issues, right? Sometimes the real addiction isn't to a substance. Sometimes it's to the illusion that something good is going on, or that something is different than it really is. What up there, Georgia Ensor? What up there, Jenks BT? What up there, Ilcon 3? Smudge and I are just chilling here talking about lying. Well, here we go, folks, the setup. Before we lie to anybody else, we lie to ourselves. And that's the setup, folks. The first drink, the first excuse, the first I'm fine, the first, yeah, I can do without a little bit of help. We learn early that denial buys comfort. We know that, right, folks? When you deny something, it gives you a little bit of ease. It gives you a little bit of rest. It gives you a little bit of fake peace. Yeah, hear that right there, fake peace, right? This segment is going to break down how self-deception is the quietest relapse we're ever going to face, and how truth, though painful, is the only real freedom that we can learn from. And if we want to learn from our mistakes, we have to have a little bit of truth. And the foundation, my friends, is going to come straight out of the AA Big Book. How it works. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to the simple program, usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. Yes, that's right, folks. Honest with themselves. To paraphrase, the lie starts inside. Not with what we tell others, but with what we refuse to admit to ourselves, or what we refuse to tell to ourselves, or what we refuse to be honest about or ourselves about. What up, Mike? What up there, Ray Lawrence 2? What up, Body Wallace? What up, Joe Sizzle? What up, Eleanor Green? What up, D-Man? What up, Kurt Schnacker? What up, Ellen DeBron? What up, Robert Gallion 37? Look at the cat. He's trying to get snuggled in there. Oh, little smudgy wedgie. All right. The reason so many people stay stuck is because honesty feels like loss, right? Honesty feels like, oh man, we've done something wrong, or we're having to grow, we're having to admit that from our shortcomings, we're having to admit that maybe we aren't quite as good as we thought we were, right? But in recovery, it's the only way that you're going to gain any semblance of life back. So we're going to get into some key terms, folks. Rationalization. Webster Dictionary defines this as to justify wrong behavior with false reasons. What it means right here, folks, is that when we decorate up our excuses, when we make our excuses like, I only did it because I had to, right? We can rationalize anything. We can convince ourselves that this is something that's okay to be doing because, well, it's selfish. And we can basically rationalize anything because when you're narcissistic, when you're selfish, when you're just a straight up jerk, it's easy to rationalize stuff. Cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. Mental conflict from holding opposing beliefs. So you can have two different things. So, right, your head knows better, but like your heart or your inner selfishness needs to be comforted, right? We need that comfort. We need that comfort. If we can get away, hey, what up there, Paul Williams? What up there, Milwaukee 3? What up there, Palmville? What up there, LaDuke, Bayou C, Gail Chapman, Bandit Wood, Covey, Govey, Dennis Dots, Manny Fresh 1, Donald Woodall. You can have conflicting beliefs in your heart, my friend, because we need to be growing. And when you grow, you're going to have things that you thought were right be proven wrong, and you're going to have things that you thought were wrong sometimes turn out to be right. And sometimes your heart knows one thing and your head knows another, and vice versa. But we need to get away from this idea that, well, I know that this is wrong, but it's going to make me feel good right now. And that's going to be the part that is easier said than done to get away from. But if we can start getting away from that slowly but surely, you will start feeling power and control and happiness in the discipline, in not succumbing to your every waking want and whim at any given second of the day, right? So, integrity, the quality of being whole and honest. Be the same person in the dark that you are in the light. Be the same person behind closed doors that you are out in public. Be the same person when no one's there judging you as you are when someone is there with a microscope on you, right? And of course, everyone's not going to be that same exact person, like say like someone was following you around with a camera every day, right? But in the terms of like how you treat others or what you value right and wrong, the mirror never lies though, folks. In recovery, the first battle is fought in the mirror. And that's where the real denial builds its fortress. It's going to sit there. It's going to say, I'm going to build my fortress of denial. It's going to be right here. No, it will be a fortress of solitude, my friends, but it won't be Superman. Oh, nay. The big book says some of us are constitutionally incapable of being honest with ourselves. Yikes, my friends. That's not an insult. That's not saying that you're bad. That's not saying that you're dumb. That's not saying that you're foolish and idiotic. It's a diagnosis full of survival, my friends, because many of us, lies become armor. Lies are what we do to survive. Lies are who we become to get along in the world. The study from the National Institute on Drug Abuse found over 70% of people in early recovery minimize their problem in the first 6 months, not out of arrogance, but fear. So a lot of times fear comes into play, but we're not going to really talk about fear today. But facing the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God, all at once, sometimes feels like a fatal blow, doesn't it? It feels like it's going to be the end of all things, right? If you have to admit that, oh God, maybe I'm out of control, maybe my life's out of control, maybe I don't have everything under wraps, maybe I don't know as much as I thought I knew, maybe I'm not quite as on track as I thought that I was on track for, right? But here's the paradox, folks. Self-honesty increases long-term sobriety odds by, get this, over 300%. So when we say one day at a time, what we really mean is one, tell the truth at a time. One, if you lie, tell the truth as fast as you can at a time. One, if you lie and lie again, do your best to stop telling lies and then tell the truth and ask for forgiveness again as quick as you can. Harm reduction, folks, harm reduction. You're not going to get anybody over here that's going to be ripping and railing on people because they can't stay clean. But I sure as fuck is going to rip and rail on you if you can't stay honest about what's going on and what you're trying to figure out, what you're trying to do, and how you go about it in a day-to-day thing, right? So that's how you start winning, of course, not by perfection. You don't start winning by being perfect. You start winning by being honest and keep coming back. Keep coming back and stay honest, and I promise you that things will get better. Stick around. Input into your sobriety. Input some effort into your life, and you will get a lot back, my friends. Because there's so many people out there that are not doing anything, that are just going by the wayside, that are just going with the flow, but not in a good way, right? And I'll tell you this, the cost of pretending is very high. The community lens, folks. Every lie you tell yourself builds a house all around you, right, that you can't live in. It's not like you're building your house on solid ground, right? Denial doesn't fix pain. It just paints over it or puts a little band-aid on it. What up there, X-Ray? How's you guys doing tonight? The Hazelden thought for the day says this one day. Okay, well, not this specific day, right? But it says in here, right? The first step in recovery is admitting reality. All healing flows from truth. So according to the American Psychological Association, people who suppress emotions for long periods are 35% more likely to relapse. So we're talking about this, folks. When we lie to ourselves, we don't just lose sobriety, we lose our identity, we lose our focus, and we lose a little bit of ourselves and our future, right? And a basic text reminds us this: we find ourselves unable to function as human beings. Either we were too high or too low or never enough, right? That's what dishonesty does. Dishonesty, it deludes us and it twists the truth. It straight, flat out makes us unable to discern reality from truth, and truth from what's real, and what's going on and what's not. What up there, Rudolph Gautier? I like that. And that's what it does. It makes us unreachable, even to ourselves. So I can say, oh yeah, listen, well, you're just not being honest with yourself. No. What you're actually doing is you're putting yourself out of reach, out of touch, out of connection with yourself or with other people. So, or even to God. And we'll get into that a little bit later. We don't want to get hard for ourselves right now. I don't want to give away, everything all at once. But honesty, man, honesty is like oxygen. Look, it might burn your lungs at first. It might be breath of fresh air, right? But it keeps you alive. Yeah, it does, because recovery isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. And if being honest is nothing but being real, then that is the real deal, my friends, and I'm being honest about that. Because the ground beneath the lie is this: lying to ourselves is like building a house on wet sand, right? It looks fine, it looks beautiful until the tide rolls in. And life, my friends, life always brings a tide. It's worse than Alabama roll tide, that's right, folks. No, actually, go blue, Michigan here, folks. The life always brings the tide that we cannot handle. Because every broken promise to ourselves erodes a little more of that sands of life, right? A little bit of that sandy foundation that we built that house of lies upon, right? I'll start tomorrow. It's not that bad. Right? They're worse than me, right? That's how addiction survives. I haven't done that yet. I'm not going to do that, I don't think, right? Not in the bottle, or the bag, or the spoon, right? But in the bargain we make with our own denial, the bargain we make with our own lack of honesty with ourselves. And here's the truth most people do not want to hear. You cannot recover and lie at the same time. You can't live a life of honesty and lie at the same time. You can't live a life of truth and lie at the same time. You can't live a life of love and be lying at the same time, right? And that's the difficult part that people don't seem to understand. And here's the truth that most people do not want to understand and hear. 12:12 says about this: we had to stop fighting everyone and everything, including ourselves. That's a little bit of the surrender part there, not waving the white flag, not saying, oh, I'm worthless, I'm no good, I can't have victory over anything. Oh, no. It's just finally saying, I admit, I can't win against this lie, right, that I am still protecting. Because that's what we're doing, we're protecting a lie. When we live a lie, when we lie about things, when we lie about our lives, when we lie about what we're doing, when we are not truthful about ourselves, it's time, my friends. You finally have the time to drop the act. You don't want to fall apart, though. You actually start to come together. So I know it kind of is counterproductive, folks. When you finally allow yourself to tell the truth and be who you are and be honest about what you are, be honest about what you're doing. And now, of course, you have to change your goals, you have to change your lifestyle, you have to change what you're doing, because you can't change you can change your act, your walk to change to match your talk, good or bad, right? Good or bad. But when you do it for good, the fear fades, the mask, it cracks a little bit. the mask that you wear day to day, the people that you are out and about, the people that you are around these people, the person who you are around that person, the person you are around those people, because you know what I'm talking about. We are all chameleons. We all change ourselves to be who we need to be at any given time, right? But the real you, the scarred, tired, honest you, can step forward. And that is the version that recovery can build on. That's the version that life can build on. That's the version of you that love and life can build upon. What up there, Preda5093? Hope you're having a great night. We're talking about lying. So if today you feel shaky, if you feel confused, if you feel ashamed, that is fine. It's okay to feel those things. Let it be a part of you. Let it move in you. Let it shift. Let it rumble. Let it move. Because peace does not live in perfection. Peace, people may say, oh, I want some peace. Oh, everything will be perfect and peaceful and harmonious and great and balanced and beautiful. Oh, no. Peace lives in the space between the chaos. And it lives in the pause between the last lie we told and the first truth we finally admit, because peace is that feeling of going from, oh, shit, to, oh, nice, right? That shift of feeling, that great feeling of being like, oh, this was bad, but now it's going to be good, so now I'm going to feel good about things. But that means it's time for us to move forward. So next up, we need to take that truth into the world, because we can be truthful with ourselves, yes, but what happens if after we can't live our entire lives just in ourselves, right? What happens when the lies we tell ourselves start spilling into the lies that we tell everybody else? Oh, that's right, folks. The performance, the lie that we tell others. Well, last time we talked about the mirror. We talked about the mirror, the quiet, the looking at ourselves, our own reflection, the lies we tell ourselves, right? But once that mask hardens and people can't see it, right, we start performing. We have become who we need to be for ourselves, and we are now out in the world, right? We have shape-shifted for acceptance. We hide behind humor. We hide behind success. We hide behind silence. We hide behind other people. We hide behind our religion. We hide behind any number of things. But the problem, every time we lie to keep our peace, or to keep the peace, or to be part of a peace, right, that isn't peaceful, right, we lose a little piece of ourselves. And this segment is going to dig into the self-performance. This segment is going to dig into the self-needing of how we pretend and how pretending becomes a habit, and how recovery teaches us to live without the costume. And this is a perfect one for Halloween, because at Halloween we wear these masks, we wear costumes. It's the very definition. So maybe this Halloween we can celebrate as addicts in recovery, because we don't have to wear our masks anymore. And that's how we can dress up and have a good time on Halloween, because we can take them off and have a good laugh about it. But how about this? The 12 and 12 says this, step 4. We began to see that the world and its people really dominated us. In that state, the wrongdoing of others, fancied or real, had power to actually kill. How could we possibly be happy or free? What does this mean? Well, when our worth depends on how others see us, we stop being honest. I'll say it again. When our worth depends on what other people think of us, or what other people see us as, we stop being honest. Well, definitely with ourselves, but then we definitely stop being honest with the rest of the world. Because if we don't feel that we can be ourselves and I have to be somebody else to please you, or be someone else to be accepted by you, well, we trade authenticity for approval, and we trade freedom for image. Image, self-image, good image, bad image, whatever you want to say, it's an image nonetheless. So we're going to get into 3 core terms, folks. The first one, facade. Facade. The Webster Dictionary says it's a false or outward appearance, something that's fake. The mask, in this terms, is the mask that we wear so no one sees the chaos behind the smile. Hey, yeah, this is great. Well, everything is wonderful and perfect. Oh, no, it is not, my friends. Number 2, manipulation, to influence dishonestly. But in this sense, we're going to talk about bending the truth to control an outcome instead of facing it head on, because we love to manipulate things in addiction. We love to not be able to have to deal with this or deal with that or deal with that or this. We'll just deal with the nice easy things, the course, the path of less resistance, right? What up there, Kenny B? What up there, Kenny B? 0111 001. How about this? Reputation. I don't give a damn about my reputation. I don't give a damn about my damn reputation. Anyway, how one is regarded by others. Well, in this sense, we're going to talk about this in the sense that what we protect when we are scared of being real. What we try to protect, what we try to put off as, what we try to have other people see us as, what we try to not let other people manipulate, right? We want to be able to manipulate our own reputation. We don't want people to be able to manipulate our reputation. Oh, no. But it's time, my friends, for Image Control 101. Welcome. I will be your professor, Professor Nick, reporting for class. Bueller. Anyway, before recovery, a lot of us mastered the art of pretending. The Just for Today meditation says we wear masks that keep us from ourselves, and the price is loneliness. According to Stanford data, 80% of people lie at least once every 24 hours, most often to avoid judgment, and those who front in early recovery are 60% less likely to stay sober for 90 days. So if you're in early recovery and you fronting, you basic, and you getting drunk, or you using some more drugs, because you're not being honest with other people. That's right. That's not just statistics. That is the cost of this performance. Statistics do not force us to do anything. They don't force anybody to do anything, even whatever number you think you may be. We influence statistics, and they just report and tell us what they are, because statistics are from the past. Statistics do not come from the future, just so you know. Right? So anyway, the world cannot love who it does not know. So I'm telling you, friends, if you want the world to love you, you best be showing it yourself. Because we need more people that are authentic. We need more people that are themselves, because we are best as a conglomerate of different people. We don't need people that all think the same. We don't need all people that are all mindless, echoing robot echo chambers of one another. We don't need that. But anyway, the collateral damage, my friends, is the community. Because when we lie to others, we teach them not to trust honesty. When we lie to others, we teach them to be like, oh, they make them a little more jaded in the world, make them a little more less trustworthy, a little more pessimistic. When we lie to each other, we teach them not to trust anything about ourselves. The 12 and 12 warns that self-justification and self-pity are most dangerous when combined. So relationships built on small lies are 70% more likely to collapse in resentment, for John Hopkins. But recovery gives us a different path. Drop the act, my friends. The more honest we become, the more we invite honesty back. So we put honesty out there, we get honesty back. We value honesty in others, people will value honesty in us. If we start valuing our negativity in ourselves, then we will start valuing negativity in others. And we start valuing negativity in others and ourselves, well then, we're going to be in a whole world of shit, my friends. But I'll tell you this, performance always ends in emptiness. Masks, well, they may win approval for a time, but they never win peace. The Hazelden meditation says this: we are free only when we no longer need to impress. So drop the script, folks, kill the character, and let the real story breathe. Tell me who you are, tell the world who you are, be who you are, because when the curtain falls, truth is the only thing still standing. The lies become lies, and you need to learn more lies to follow up and fill more lies. But next up, my friends, we face what those lies leave behind. How do our patterns shape the next generation? Because when we lie, I'll tell you this, folks, our kids and other people's kids are seeing what we're doing. How? Is them watching us, are they doomed to repeat what we teach? Segment 3, my friends, the inheritance. What lies leave the next generation? Every choice that we make becomes somebody else's lesson. We've said this before on Devil Dog Addiction. When we do things, the goal is that hopefully we will learn something from it, and then we can pass it on, and someone can learn from our mistake so they don't have to make it themselves. But the lies we live don't disappear when we are gone. They echo, my friends. They stay. Sometimes they stay stronger than others. In families, in friendships, in recovery rooms even. In the next kid watching us handle the truth. In the next story, in the next individual that needs to find out what they need to do to stay sober. And what happens when we tell them a lie. This segment looks at the legacy of lying. This segment looks at the legacy of not lying, right? What happens when dishonesty becomes tradition, and how breaking that cycle can set the next generation free before they even know that they've been trapped. So we're going to get into this, folks. The Just for Today from July 22nd. Our example can be a powerful influence. We'll start that one over. Our example can be a powerful influence on others. If we live honesty, the message carries itself. This reminds me of the Jesus Bible verse where he talks about that you will judge a Christian, you'll be able to judge a Christian person by the fruits of their labor. We don't teach recovery by just preaching it. We teach it by living it. We teach it by doing it and showing people that, hey, when we do this, we're happy. When we do this, we feel better. When we do this, we have more out of life and more gusto and happiness than we ever did when we were down at the end of a bottle. More happiness now than ever shooting dope in my arms or chugging alcohol at 4 in the morning, right? Our honesty, or lack of it, writes a blueprint for those who follow. So let's get into these definitions, folks. Legacy. Something that's handed down from one generation to the next. But in this sense of the word, we're talking about emotional and moral DNA that we leave behind. The good works and the good deeds and the good lessons we teach that we leave behind. How about this? Trust trauma. Therapeutic term for inherited fear of betrayal. Some people have been damaged, some people have been hurt, some people have a lot of emotional baggage, especially when it comes to being betrayed. When kids grow up expecting disappointment. When children grow up thinking, oh, the world is just shitty and parents don't love each other. The world is just shitty. People don't get along. You know, there's so many kids that just think that the world is inherently a shit place and there's nothing good in it. That they don't have anything to laugh about. They don't know where their next meal's coming from or their shelter, right? And look, well, we don't want to go down that road. But we're talking about this in terms of trauma and not being able to be honest with our kids, right? Accountability. And being answerable to one's own actions. Owning the ripple effect of what we do. When we lie about things, we're going to have to tell lies later. And when we have to tell lies later, we might have to remember, we might forget. Because lies always beget more lies, and lies always beget more lies. What up there, Jeremy? What up there, Nicholas Ferdinand? What up there, Walker? What up there, Donnie Bonds? What up there, Bodo 4? What up there, Peyton Hardy 28? What up there, bruh? Hope you guys are having a good night. My name's Nate. This is Devil Dog Addiction, and we are talking about lying. Oh, what up there, Jeremy? That's nice. The echoes of examples, my friends. The Just for Today reading says an example carries the message. Statistics back that up. Children of addicts are 4 times more likely to develop substance abuse issues. But here's the hope, folks. When that same parent enters recovery and models honesty, right? When you enter recovery, so it doesn't mean that you enter recovery and you become sober right away. Right? A lot of people are like, oh, well, I just entered a program, I went to rehab, and I did 30 days in treatment, and now I still can't get clean, right? But I tell you this, folks, just because you can't do that doesn't mean that you're failing. Every time that you're honest about what you're doing, it teaches the next generation how to be more honest. And how about this? You want statistics, you want reality? A child's long-term risk drops by 35%. 35%. So we talk about statistics quite a bit here on Devil Dog Addiction, and we add statistics up. So if we got 25% here, makes something better. 15% here makes something better. 25% here makes something better. And before you know it, everyone's feeling a lot better. Every my bad, every I don't know teaches that next generation that truth is not failure, my friends. It is freedom, especially if everybody can be truthful. And I tell you this, it's not easy to be truthful, especially when it's ingrained in systems. But I tell you, breaking the cycle is how we make communities better. Families, communities, and sponsors all pass down habits. Sponsors, mentors, people that take the time to teach others. Hey, Jeremy, I appreciate that, my friend. I'm feeling the love, making me feel, I'm feeling the hearts. I appreciate it. 60% of people in multi-generational recovery, right? So let's say you're in recovery and your parent is in recovery, or even your grandparent is in recovery. My grandpa was in AA, right? He got sober when he was a little bit later on in life. The NA basic text tells us we keep what we have by giving it away. So if you can help other people and live honesty, right? Live through what you've been through and then pass it on. All right, my friend, Jeremy, you have a good night. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Have a great night, and hey, stay safe out there because it's a pretty dangerous world. Look, when we live honesty, we give the next wave permission to stop lying sooner, right? So we talked about this. We talked about when you lie, the goal is to tell the truth as quickly as possible, admit that you're wrong, because I know, like, people be like, look, are you telling the truth? 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 And you're like, yeah, I am. But you're not. And every time you're like, fuck, I'd like to tell the truth, but I don't know what's going to happen when I do. I tell you, friends, telling the truth, if you want to keep relationships, if you want to keep a relationship, you've got to figure out how to tell the truth sooner than later. You got to figure out how to tell the truth today. So if you're going through something and you got something that you're hiding from someone, or you're like, fuck, I need to get off this stuff, I need some help. I need some help with my addiction. I need some help with alcohol. I need some help with drugs. I got this fucking problem with gambling. Got this problem with sex. Got this problem with whatever. I need a little bit of fucking help. Get the help now. Because unless you've like seriously, unless you've killed somebody basically, or done a horrible, terrible, fucking violent crime, and in that case, you should be in fucking jail, obviously, or in big ass trouble. But aside from that, there's not really much that can't be fixed. So do not lose hope about things. Do not feel like you need to be fake about things all the time. Do not feel like you need to be dishonest with the world all the time. Do not feel like you have to be anything other than who you are and figuring out who you are. Now, that doesn't mean I'd be like, I can just be an obnoxious fucking asshole, and if someone's telling me to stop being a dick, I'd be like, oh, well, I'm just being who I am. No, come on. You know what I'm talking about here. I'm saying, find out who you are in terms about being a decent person for the world, and figure out who you are meant to be in terms of finding your why in spreading love and community in the world. But look, when we live honesty, we're giving that next generation the ability to be honest much, much better than we are. And that's how cycles end. Not with blame, not with who's the most to blame and they need to be held in trouble the most. No. Everybody says, hey, we fucked this shit up together, so let's fix this shit together. Our legacy is written in our behavior, not in a word biography, right? The next generation is going to inherit what we practice. The world is real. The world is out there in tangible things. The world is not books, right? Or the world is not literature. The world is not words. I mean, the world tells stories and that type of thing, but the world is out there and living. And if our honesty teaches courage, well, people will learn to heal. But if our silence and our lack of honesty teaches denial, if we're talking about truth being speaking and spreading the community, and silence, just the absence of truth, the absence of rightness, right? So today, live a little bit more like someone's watching you. Imagine, well, look, maybe someone's not watching me, but would I be doing this if someone was like watching me and being like, well, is this a dick move or is this a regular cool thing to be doing, right? Because honestly, somebody is always watching, my friends. And I'm not talking about in some creepy ass sense, like, look behind you because I'm like creeping up on you. But no, I'm saying that like, we don't fucking know what reality is. So, and honestly, if you're a Christian, everything that you've done, it says that one of these days you're going to be, everything you've done is going to be shown to you, and it's going to be judged. You be ready to answer for what you've done for. But most major world religions have some sort of version of dealing with what we've done in this life. And so if we're not able to be truthful about what we're doing in this life, well, maybe it's time to check out this next segment. Segment 4 out of 5, the opposite card. It's time to flip it over, folks. Why do some people defend the lie? And why does comfort feel safer than the truth most often? And here's the opposite card, the seduction of the lie. Every story has two sides, right? On one there's truth, and on the other there's comfort. We all know which one wins on most days, and this segment looks at why. Time for a little hydration. Why do people defend the lie even after it hurts them? Well, the answer is not evil, my friends. The answer is fear. Lies feel safe. They give us control when everything else feels chaotic. But that safety, my friends, is counterfeit. It's the fool's gold of safety. Recovery asks us to trade short-term comfort for long-term peace. And that, my friend, that is a hard sell for the wounded soul. Foundational reading on this one is from the NA Basic Text. Step 1. We admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. Denial, my friends, is the enemy of the first step. It protects our disease and prevents recovery. To paraphrase this for you, denial is the defense we build to avoid the first dose of truth. Denial, it stops us from ever seeing that first wall of reality, right? It feels protective. It kind of keeps us from not knowing, keeps us from not having to deal with all this stuff. But it is poison disguised as peace. First term for this segment, denial. Webster Dictionary says it is this: refusal to accept reality or fact. We're talking about it this way. We're talking about the brain's comfort blanket. It's a little blankie from my brain, little brain blankie that keeps me from feeling what is real. So my brain is like, I don't want to feel what's real. Give me my little denial blankie. And my brain sits there and it sucks its little thumb and it hangs on to its little comfort binky blankie. Ego defense. Unconscious mental process to reduce anxiety. Okay, so we got an unconscious mental process to reduce anxiety. But it's really just a trick that our mind is playing to keep our pride alive and pain away, to keep our little insides from having to grow a little bit. What up there, Nick Dennis 719? What up there, Jer? What up, Tina Lanny? What up there, Misty Flores? What up there, Dark Passenger? Little Dexter fan there, probably a little pool doc of TikTok. What up there, Clarence Owens? Addiction. Compulsive need despite harm. So addiction is inherently about things that are bad, when relief matters more than the result. How about this? The comfort trap. Denial feels good. It's warm, predictable, familiar. The NA Basic Tech calls it this: the shield that blocks the truth. Yikes. Denial. Research from the University of Michigan, go blue, shows people confronted with facts that threaten identity become 64% more likely to double down on false beliefs. So how about that, folks? We got 64% of people more likely to double down if it has something to do with threatening your identity. So, what up there, Bushwhacker Ron? What up there, Melanie Rogers? What up there, Saul Goodman? Like that, better call ya. We don't cling to lies because we love them. We cling to them because we are terrified of the pain beneath them. We're terrified of what we have to face if those lies go by the wayside. But recovery is not about pain avoidance. I'm not here to fucking give you a rose garden, right? That's what it says. I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden, right? It is not about avoiding the bad, harmful things. It is about redemption through the pain. That's right. The same study found those who consciously face uncomfortable truths experience 40% higher emotional stability within 6 months. Face the fires, folks. It cools it down. The payoff of pain. Society rewards performance and it punishes vulnerability. And that is why denial sells. Hazelden research notes nearly 75% of relapses begin with rationalization. I've got this. I deserve this. It's not that bad. The 12 and 12 says we lost the ability to tell the truth from the false. We don't know what's real because we're so fucked in the head. But here's the twist. Once we stop fighting the truth, well, we stop fearing it. Denial keeps us in survival mode. Honesty lets us live. Lies promise relief but deliver relapse, of course. They whisper, you're fine, until the ground disappears beneath you. The truth might sting, but it never abandons you. The truth might hurt a little bit. The truth might do a little bit of damage, but it surely will set you free. Comfort fades, clarity lasts. If denial is the drug, then honesty is the detox. So next up, folks, it's time to close it up. It's time to end it out. It's time to wrap it up. It's time to head home. Because you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Segment 5, the isolation, rebuilding on real ground. We talked about the false ground. We talked about the sand. We talked about the shit ground, trying to build a house on a bad plot of land. But it doesn't work. We spent this episode digging through layers. The lies we tell ourselves, the performances that we sell to tell others, and then the damage that echoes when we tell those lies that we pass on to the next generation. And then the comfort that keeps us all stuck exactly where we are. But once all of that collapses, well, the only thing that's left is silence and isolation. The moment when everything fake falls away and the truth finally has room to speak. But my friends, that is not punishment. That is the rebuild zone. And this is where honesty becomes action. And it's the hardest part, it's the worst part, it's the part that is difficult, but it's the part that's going to keep you going, it's the part that's going to make you feel better, because it is where we grow. All right, here we go. The Hazelden meditation, 24 hours a day. August 3rd says this: honesty with ourselves leads to honesty with others. When we stop deceiving ourselves, we begin to rebuild character and faith. The light returns, my friends, when the masks are dropped. To paraphrase this, recovery does not start with perfection. It does not start with being 100% awesome at everything that you try. It doesn't start with you trying to get sober and being successful and never looking back. It starts with truth, with being honest about your addiction, with being honest about needing a little bit of help. And each honest act is a little baby brick in the new foundation. Transparency, openness, and communication. Letting people see who we really are. No filters, no edits, no needing to be somebody else, no touch-ups, no AI edits, right? Reconciliation, restoration of harmony. Making peace with the truth, my friends. You need to reconcile with your own humanity. You need to find that not running away from who you are is the only way to become whole. Redemption, the act of making something bad better again. And we all could use a little bit of redemption, friends. Turning honesty into healing. Turning truth into action. Turning ourselves into humanity that can join the other community. The stillness after the storms is this. Personal focus. When the lies stop, the noise stops, right? And that silence, yes, oftentimes it can feel like loss, but it's actually the first sound of peace. That first empty whistle of happiness instead of craziness and chaos in your brain. The Hazelden study found that people who practice daily self-inventory are 50% more likely to sustain recovery for 2 years. Why? Because truth needs maintenance. And that's what I'm trying to get at in this first little second, folks, is that it's one thing to say, oh, truth this and truth that, truth here, truth there, truth everywhere. But it's another, we have to practice our truth. We have to maintain our truth, have a little self-preservation for our own truth. The same research showed acts of service increase emotional sobriety by 30%, because you can white knuckle sobriety. You can be a dry drunk. You can be out there not drinking, but just as miserable as ever. But when we help someone else tell their truth, we stay honest ourselves. And honesty is contagious. So start healing, folks. Rebuilding this in our community, folks. The 12 and 12 tells us this. Faith without works is dead. It's a copy that they stole it out of the Bible, faith without, faith without works is fucking dead, or whatever you want to call it. But honesty is the faith in this sense, folks, and living it out is the work. So we say, oh, I need to do some work. I need to do some work in this and some work in that. No. We're talking about living our life of truth. A 2024 Recovery Institute survey found that those who share honest stories publicly report a 60% rise in self-worth within 6 months. And that's the power of transparency. Tell the world your truth. The world will respect your truth. And not to applaud it. Oh, no. But to align with it. Every time we speak our truth, instead of managing our image, we repair another plank in the floor of our lives, repair another patch carpet in the patchwork of our lives, right? So what does this mean for us? Well, it means that the lie was never the enemy here. The silence before the growth was. The fix is not in grand gestures. The fix is not in doing a bunch of things all at once. The fix is not in fixing your life overnight all at once. It looks like apologizing sooner. Stop lying sooner. Tell the truth sooner. Daily honesty. Daily reflections of your honesty that day or the day before. It looks like apologizing and being a listener more, right? Listening longer even. Choosing presence over performance. Asking, is this real? Before you post things online. Stop trying to press and preach and pass on negative and things that are not real. It's catching small dishonesties. The I'm fine, I'll handle it later, it doesn't matter. Replace them with one truth at a time, and replace them with noticing when other people say those things. Listen to the little things that people say, because people tell you how they are feeling. But we have lost the ability to effectively communicate as a society these days. And hearing the little things, the little nuances in people's words and figuring out what is going on in their world. But how about this? The heart needs to find its ground. Every brick of this new life, it's built from the rubble of the old one. We tear down an illusion, right? Tear down that illusion of ourselves, right? To make room for a little bit of truth, and the truth is where that peace will live, and you don't have to have it all figured out. That's the part. You don't have to have it all figured out. You do not have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know everything. You just have to stop pretending that you do. You got to stop pretending that you're one thing. You got to stop pretending that you are being something for somebody else, because your own truth does not have room to get out. Okay? So you got to be your own self. You got to stop pretending, and remember that honesty is not a finish line. You're not honest and then you're done. You're not like, oh, well, I was honest today, so now I can be done. No. Come on. Honesty is the journey, is the road. The road where? Well, the road home, my friends. But how about this? Next time on Devil Dog Addiction, we're going to open up a new wound. We're going to chase a new truth. And we're going to keep building this bad boy, one episode, one truth, one honesty at a time. So, Hope I can catch you on the flip side. But until then, this has been Devil Dog Addiction. Hope you have a great night. Peace. Nice. You're okay.